Okay, peeps, here we go. See what we're working with right there. We have a plaster delamination. Base coat looks good, but the surface coat is falling off. So, if any of y'all know or are experienced with plaster, you know that if you try to go over plaster with a setting type joint compound, what happens is it takes forever to set up. I'm going to show you a trick that's going to make you way more efficient and will make all of your mud set up uniformly. So what you got to do is you got to put a thin coat. If you've ever messed with plaster, you can't put plaster onto a plaster wall and it will set up uniformly. It doesn't work like that. You have to put a thin coat of plaster on it first, and then that takes forever for it to set up all the way. Then you put the next coat on it, and that is the one you can slick out because it's set up uniformly. So what we're going to do, we got a pan of some 20-minute here. We're going to coat around the edges and through the middle of it. The middle is probably dry pretty good, but the edges always have a hard time. So what we're going to do is just coat the whole thing with a nice thin skim of some 20-minute, let it all set up, and then we'll come back and we'll probably mix up some 45 and put on there, and then we can slick it out like regular plaster. But anyway, here we go. One pan didn't quite make it, so we're going to mix up another one. We will be back in 1 minute. Okay, we're back. Got another pan of mud here. We're going to finish putting a thin skim on this repair. There you go. We got a thin skim on the whole repair. And so while that is setting up, I am going to go do some more point out. Catch up with you in a little bit. Okay, peoples, here we are. We're going to put some mud on this, or should I say some setting type joint compound. I mixed up about a half a bucket of, or half a bag of 20 minutes. So ain't no messing around, gotta get to it. There you go, y'all. We got a coat on it, but I'm going to take what's left in the bucket, run in the other room, and got a couple little repairs that need to be touched up. But anyway, I know what y'all are thinking. Dan, you're using a drywall knife to do plaster repairs. Yes, I know. You know what I mean? Because that's at 20-some years of experience. If you pay attention when you work with people, you know what I mean, good or bad, you know what I mean, you learn what to do and what not to do. But anyway, it's still looking a little rough there. We'll get you a view of it there. There you go, you can take a look. We still got a ways to go. This mud actually has to set up so we can start slicking it out. That's what the other coat was for the first time, was to add a base coat to it so everything will set up uniformly. But anyway, I'm going to take care of these little repairs and stuff, and I'll be back in a little bit. It's about ready to be taken to another level. We'll give it a couple more minutes to go to another level and or set up a little bit more, and then we'll bust out the sponge and add a little bit of water and slick her on down. Here we go, y'all. Got the sponge. We're gonna add a little bit of water to it, slick her on down. Okay, y'all, we got her slicked out, looking pretty good. We got a couple little small imperfections in there, but what we're going to do now is we're going to go through and let it set up just a little bit more, and then we're going to kind of take care of the imperfections, because as we're adding water, we got one spot right in here that didn't want to dry quite as fast as the rest of it, but well, it is what it is. Ain't no thing. Good thing is it's easy sand or a setting type joint compound, so we can skim over it with regular mud, or we can sand it. Usually plaster you don't sand, but on easy sand you can sand that, or a setting type joint compound, as we should say. But anyway, let me get back to touching these things up here. Let's see what it looks like. to the point now where you just look it over, and if you see any imperfections, you just pick up a little bit of mud, You know, you just add a little water, pick up a little mud, and just move it around, fill in the imperfections or whatever you see. It's about to the point where it's done now. And I prefer a smaller knife. This is a 6. You have to, I'm going to do a video on how to tune your knives and stuff like that, and which side of the knife to use. I have a little, y'all can see my little chop mark right there. That side usually is out, because I always touch it with my thumb. So on that, I'm running it opposite, running my thumb mark towards the wall. And because what it boils down to, the knife is kind of bowed a little bit like this, so the tips are not digging into the plaster. It's if I turn it around with my thumb, then the tips are digging into the plaster. But that's going to be on a different episode there. Hopefully I can get a video out about tuning knives and which side, if you buy a new knife, which side to use. I just helped I helped a gentleman out named Rocky, and tell him, you know, which side. He said sometimes his finishing is great and sometimes it sucks, you know what I mean? And I said, well, which side of the knife you using? He's like, I don't know, I don't pay attention to it. I was like, well, that's your problem right there. You always use the same side of the knife, and because it's bowed a certain way, and one side leaves mud behind and one side takes it all off and leaves edges. So there you go. But anyway, let me get back to this. We've got a little bit more to do. I'm going to call that done for today. Actually, I used to work for this other company back in the day, probably about almost 20 years ago. And I worked with a gentleman briefly. He done plaster for a living. He could not run a drywall knife to save his life. But while working with him a little bit, I learned a few things about plaster way back in the day. And he shared some little secrets with me. He probably didn't even know that he was sharing them with me, but that's okay, because I like to gather knowledge and stuff like that. And when people tell me things, I listen. Never know when you might need them or use them one day. But anyway, what he told me was that when he got done with his plaster, that he touched it up with regular drywall mud. Didn't know that. You figured that you would want flawless victory right from the get-go. Well, this thing right here looks pretty good. It's got a couple very small imperfections in it and stuff like that. Nothing major. Anything can be sanded out. That right there looks way better than what was up there. But the way I am, I'm a little bit OCD, I guess, and I need to have it looking good. But anyway, we're going to give y'all a little view, see what this thing looks like here. Y'all got to see the before, and now you get to see the after. Look at that thing. That's a nice smooth finish right there. Look at that. We got one little imperfection right out here. Okay, you see a little hole right there. If I was to give it a little bit longer, you know what I mean, then let me move this thing away from me. If I was to give it a little bit longer, I could probably add a little bit of water and touch it up, because it was a little soft spot right there. But anyway, that's going to be it for now. Y'all see how to fix up. I use some 20-minute, but I wanted to speed this along a little bit because I've been here for a couple days and I'm ready to go home and chill in the AC. But anyway, y'all have a good one. We'll holler at you later.